Hey folks, happy Thursday and happy episode 14. Hard to believe,
Happy
but we're
Thursday.
cruising along here and Fine Things refreshed. Coming to you live from Carolina Beach, and Angie is in
Blair County, Pennsylvania.
Blair County, Pennsylvania.
Great.
There you go. All right,
Yes.
folks. Well, today's going to be a fun episode. We're going to talk a little bit. Usually we have a kingdom philosophy or a core principle at Yazoo that we like to highlight, like to talk about. We then dive into a marketing topic, something that we're really finding interesting. Some folks that we're either talking to that request topics, or our fans that request topics. But today's topic is really, really a good one. How your marketing is measuring up to trends, which is going to be an awesome discussion. And then last but not least, we'll do a little bit of a FineThings shout out. We have a new client that we would like to highlight. Well, not a new client. This is actually a client that we've previously worked with and we're working with again. But we will jump into that at the very end. So stay tuned, dive on in with us. And if you have any comments, as usual, please jump into the comment section, drop any type of questions that you may have, any type of topics you want us to, take a look at in future episodes. But let's dive right in, Mom. So kingdom philosophy or a core principle at Yazoo, all about embracing change. Why
Well,
don't you kick us off?
yeah, so we're talking about change, and our kingdom philosophy in terms of change is like, first of all, you're letting God guide you, but there's change along the way, and change can be change in the strategies you offer, in the business services you offer, and technologies you use. It can be in staff that you're helping with, and it can be in clients that you or new clients that you gain.
So true. And love that. I love the element of change, right? Particularly when we talk about marketing, when we talk about just running a business as an entrepreneur, there is a lot of change. And I think that for folks that have never been an entrepreneur, or for folks that really haven't, touched marketing, there's typically a playbook, right? You like to do things a certain way. There's a process, which is awesome. It's really great to be able to create a foundation. But the beautiful part about marketing and the beautiful part about being an entrepreneur is that every day is a little bit different. It's a revolving door. The way in which we market has been changing. The way in which we communicate has been changing. So if you're not able to embrace that, unfortunately, you're going to be left behind. And that's really where we like to come in. We don't want folks to be left behind. We want to help folks bring them into the new age. And oftentimes there's a little bit of that fear factor, right? Well, I don't know what to do, so I don't want to do it. Therefore, you sort of stay stagnant. Those are discussions that we have a lot of times. And it's with clients that we've worked with for years that still do not understand this change, whether we're talking about the world of AI, whether we're talking about new digital platforms or new social platforms. Those are all discussions that we have on a regular basis, but they all embrace change. So
Yeah.
I mean,
And
go ahead.
and I think that change is so, not just for the sake of change. So when you're talking about changing in your business, it's change when you're called to change, whenever there's something that's not aligning with all of your philosophy or your strategy, and something is just out of line. Sometimes you have to make a change. But it's not
So
just
true.
change, stay open and saying, you know what, we can't stay and move out. New season, right? We're in a new season, and we have to be able to make these changes in order to move forward. And I just love that that's one of our philosophies, and that you really, Eli, do drive that. You push that through with me even. And I mean, there was a change in leadership when we went from me and founded the company to you moving into the CEO position. When we moved away from employees, and even some of the consultants that we've lost relationship with, not through anything bad, but just through this process of change. And you always end up coming out ahead if you handle change correctly. And it's not all to do because you can be emotional. But, you know, I think it's just important for all businesses change, how they handle change, and do they talk about it regularly?
It's very well put. And I think it's the lens in which you look at change. Do you look at it negatively? Do you look at it positively? Do you look at it as a detriment? Do you look at it as opportunity? I mean, the way in which you look at it and the lens that you look at it through really will dictate your ability to embrace change. And that's a founding principle, is embracing change. So I think this is a great way to kickstart our conversation and sort of transition into the marketing topic as well, which is, how does your marketing measure up to trends? And trends are a place of change. You know, trends are new avenues, new opportunities, new efforts, new channels. These are all opportunities for you to take advantage of them. So there's trends that are coming up, and how do you measure up against the trends with your current marketing efforts? Are you able to try out new social platforms? Are you able to try out maybe a new approach to creating content? So that's what we're going to talk about today. And I think it's important to sort of set the foundation right. When anytime we talk about a marketing topic, oftentimes there's a little bit of a learning curve, and I don't want to talk too high or above anybody at this point. So let's bring it down a little bit and talk about, what does that mean, and are there any trends that we want to sort of focus on for today's episode? What do you think, Angie?
Yeah. So I'll just say, you know, for me, even at the very start of Yazoo, it was really important that at the end of every year, the end of every quarter, to look at what's going on in marketing, because you can't compete with larger agencies, or even with smaller, nimble mom and pop or husband and wife teams, if you don't stay current and stay on top of what's going on. So I really love Forbes as a resource, just for reading. And I remember going into 2023 reading this great article about marketing trends and predictions for 2023, and I think that's a great example to use today. And how do you measure yourself against trends and predictions in marketing? And I think that you can do this even if you are a mom and pop shop. So I'm going to talk about the process, and then Eli, maybe you can go through a couple of them, like, you know, what is trending, or we can go back and forth on it. But like the process that we really, okay. Sorry, there's a little bit of delay. People,
technology, gotta love it.
If you're watching, recommend is that you really have an outline with regards to understanding what's coming in the upcoming year or in the upcoming quarter, what's coming into marketing, what's being recommended. And that can go as down as far as like how you write emails, what people are responding to in terms of ads, how they're responding to the placement of stuff on a website. It can be that granular, but it can also be very high level. For example, one of the we'll talk about is that getting away from all digital, and not like people are moving their spending dollars to not be solely digital, but also revisiting. And this isn't in every market or in every industry, but revisiting, do we want to have events again? Do we want to be physically out there with our customers? So do we want to shift some of our ad dollars that we put 100% on ads and go back out marketplace with our customers, go to events, go to things like that? And so that's a trend that you look at. Another example of this is, you know, people are saying, okay, we want to shift a little bit of our digital into mailers again. How are we going to stand out in the crowd with that? So those are examples of trends. But we say always have that kind of lined up at the beginning of the year, and then look at it each quarter and say, are we ready to dive in? Or are we already doing this? Or is this just something that is absolutely not going to work for us? So that's how you line yourself up with knowing trends, I'd say. So what are some?
That's, I mean, in terms of how you set it up, I absolutely would agree. I mean, we have to go through those discussions, because it always does come down to, first, the identification of the trend, right? and then aligning that with any efforts. Are you doing that? Are you doing that in any form and fashion? Or if you're not doing it, do you have the palette for it? What can and can't you do when we talk about that trend? There's probably limitations when you talk about the specific use case of the specific client or service or product that maybe you provide, right? Your clientele. But regardless, let's talk about some of those trends. So Angie talked about the shift of the dollars when we went into, there was the pandemic, there went a lot away from physical connection. It was a very digital connection. So there was a lot of money shifted into digital ad space, social ad space. Social commerce is going to continue to rise. So that's not something that's going away. I think it's important for us to note that. We're not saying that social media is going to go away, but there has been a change in the way in which social media is digested, the way in which we utilize social media. So oftentimes, folks say, I don't want to be in social anymore because it's all, personal. I want to stay more business focused. So, okay, that's absolutely fine. And that's great because we have other avenues. To your point, do you want to do a mailer? Do you want to do some type of physical marketing effort to align and supplement your digital marketing efforts? So we talk about, the ability to combine physical and digital connectivity. Like, how do you align that story across both of those channels, traditional and digital? In addition to that, we talk about the new age, right, of the use of AI. How do you use AI and what does that mean to you? Oftentimes in marketing, AI is a part of your content generation process now. Is there a limitation in how you use AI? Should it be your go-to source or should it be a thought starter? So at Yazoo, we talk about AI all the time because we've had clients come to us and say, oh yeah, my website was done. The whole thing was generated by AI. That's great. The ability for us to do that now is incredible. I mean, the fact that you can have a machine pump out content without having to physically write it is incredible. However, there's a lack of personal voice. So how do you take the AI piece and add your personal brand voice to that? How do you align your brand attributes and plug that in to an AI engine, right? So there's always this conversation too about AI and how does AI pull the data? So for example, if we talk about ChatGPT is a phenomenal resource. It is an incredible content creation engine. However, it utilizes 2021 data. So when you talk about relevancy and timeliness, there is pulling a little bit of old data. However, there's new alternatives now or ways that you can use ChatGPT and plug it into 2023 data. That way you are getting timely and relevant data. So it's about understanding the alternatives and how the trend can be utilized within your business or your scenario. I mean, the other area that I think is really, really awesome is to just re-examine the selling process.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the biggest area for me that I think is a huge opportunity. And it could be a lot of fun.
Yeah. And I think I want to just jump in here a minute and also say part of that is, of course, we talk about video all the time and it's nothing new. And people watching will be like, well, that's not a trend. That's been around for like ever now, at least a decade of
Yep.
people really getting into like video storytelling and stuff. But the way they're using it on websites and the way they're using it in the selling processes, you think about how a person goes to a website and they're reading it, just like clicking on, and videos are explaining every product. It's like, now that even happens when you buy a product that you have to put together. Basically, like you'll get a video instruction with some of them, like a QR code to a video that says, okay, step 1, do this, step 2, do this. So much better than those written instructions. The same thing with your website. And we can do this even as small companies where, someone says like, okay, what you're seeing here is XYZ. And that then becomes part of your selling process. Yes. Because, and I'm sure you're going to get into this, but selling is all about service and retaining your current customers. So companies are adding like so much value to that. It was all we heard a decade ago. And especially when we started the agency 7 years ago, it was new lead acquisition. How do I get my website to just people fill out forms and new leads? But what they soon discovered, even in the best of the best strategists that we worked with, was there's junk in those leads.
Mm-hmm.
And so you may end up with 100 leads, only 2 are even workable, if that. So
Exactly.
companies are beginning to say, well, like if I spent, you know, $10,000 on that, but if I put $10,000 towards making sure my current clients are super excited about working with me and we have a referral process, maybe that's going to be a bigger bang for the buck than putting that towards new lead acquisition. So
Absolutely.
I'm not saying that's not important, but people are really thinking about where they spend their dollars now.
Well, yeah, and I mean that's also a great conversation to have, because it sort of takes and forces you to revisit your approach in understanding your customer and what the product and service that you're selling. Because you need to understand that how you interact with your customers, is it a long-term relationship? Are there other products or services that they may use, or is it just, you know, that you sell product A and they consume product A, and then they'll come back for a second round of product A? Like all that's a very like a retail sort of mindset. And then you also have the services mindset. But when you take a look at your customer base and your clientele base, not only is that your lifeblood, but there's so much data in there that you can leverage to better understand how you can grow current accounts. But then how do you use the information that you know from your current customers to go get new clients? So that's the conversation that we like to have with folks too. If they say, I want new generation, I need new lead gen, new lead gen, new lead gen. Well, oftentimes we'll play devil's advocate and say, okay, well, what do you know about your current customers? How are they using the product or service? Do you have a champion that can speak about your product to help relate to potential new customers? So you have to think about bringing someone forward to making it either a account growth. So having someone that knows you, you want to increase the amount of work that you're doing with them, or bringing a new customer in. There's different messages there. They're just different profiles of people. So how do you have that dynamic content that speaks to both audiences with maybe a similar message, but it is just done to two different viewpoints, right? So that's also what we talk about, is there needs to be that dynamic element. And that's a trend now, is using that dynamic content based off of a sort of customer profile, if you will.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, these all are areas of, exactly, they're areas of discussion, they're areas of opportunity. It's a way for us to help bring our clients into, I don't want to say the 21st century, because I guess it is still a 21st century, but I mean, the where we are in 2023, getting into the mindset that embrace these trends, embrace that change, and know that by the trends happening, that there's opportunity for you to posture your business the right way. So that's just what we at Yazoo like to revisit. I mean, quarterly. This is something that we look at on a quarterly basis, is what are the trends going on? Because the world in which we live is moving so fast. There is a new platform, you know, I would say every 6 months, there's a new platform or a new tool, and quarterly there's probably new software pieces that are, you know, coming into the marketplace. So it's important to keep your finger on the pulse. And we would recommend internally, you know, how about delegating someone to sort of be that trend seeker? Whether it's your agency, if you work with an agency, ask them, can you just take a look quarterly and see what's going on if they're not already doing that with you? Or if you have an internal individual, an internal marketing individual, ask them quarterly, hey, can you guys go take a look and just what's going on? I'm not saying that you need to plug your entire budget into these new trends, but be aware. That is where I think the biggest misstep is the ignorance, I guess, to not want to go look and not be aware of some of those new trends. So that's just some of the walls that we try to break down too with some of our clients. Any other thoughts, Angie, from your end when we talk about the world of trends or measuring and measuring efforts? Anything you want to wrap up with?
I don't think so. Up with our shout out.
Yeah, we're going to shift gears into our shout out. And I apologize, guys. Ahead. This is a little bit of a tough episode today with the delay back and forth on some internet issues. So I apologize there. But we're going to talk about, last but not least, our shout out. So this is a client, like I had said at the beginning, we've worked with this client before. We've can't come back around. We're revisiting and doing more work with this client. So this is always really exciting when we get to re-engage with folks, because we know them. There's not that sort of learning curve. We can kind of hit the ground running. Not that we don't like the learning curve aspect, the discovery aspect, but hitting the ground running is an awesome piece. So Angie, I'll let you
And I
do the
think
shout out.
it's super important too, because this client comes in when a company needs to embrace change. So
So true.
our shout out is Empower Business Solutions. They are located in Altoona, PA, and they are an ERP consultant and implementation company. So basically, that's like your business management solution. That's what handles your accounting, your inventory, if you're in manufacturing or distribution, or restaurants, or those are some of the key markets. But it can just be also like really your IT roadmap. Like, how are you using technology to leverage your business as your growth explodes through change? Technology should be your friend, not your enemy. And so Empower, what I love about working with them is the CEO has been doing this for almost 35 years. So he knows what he's doing.
Yes.
And consultants know what they're doing. And I would say if you are a high growth company, you're out there and you're growing and you're struggling with like QuickBooks, or how are you handling your accounting, or you have no idea what's in inventory, or you're still putting together manual reports to show your leadership team, you've got to give this company a call and talk to Joe, and we'll put that link there. But I am really excited about talking to about him and the company, because I do think that it's something that holds people back, because it's like an investment. I know we go through that. It's like, we'll put out the money, but then once you do it, it launches you forward. And it's all about growth and change and embracing the right systems and the right processes, which can be our worst enemy when we are in a fast growing organization. So
true.
I don't know. I think we should do a recap of everything we talked about today.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, I mean, from the start, we talked about one of the leading core principles, kingdom philosophies at Yazo, which is embracing change, right? And how does that drive your business? How does it drive you as an individual? That falls perfectly in line with our marketing topic of how do you measure against current trends? How does your marketing measure against trends? So, are you able to embrace the trends and embrace that change and put some effort into those, trends, if you will? But this even more so falls into our shout out, which is Empower Business Solutions, because they are the vehicle or the consultant to help you embrace that change and empower your business to go further. So as Angie mentioned, any type of business that has inventory, manufacturing, distribution, wholesale, whether you're in, food, if you're in the pharmaceuticals, if you're in retail, any type of product, or you have inventory that you're managing in some form or fashion, you need to be in touch with Empower. If you are growing and you are getting out of QuickBooks, or you're doing Excel, and Angie's point, you're doing manual reports, you need to talk to Empower, because you need to get out of your own way. And that's the biggest thing, is embrace the change, get out of your own way, and allow technology and a consultant to be the vehicle to help empower your business and take you to new heights. So that's, I just get excited when I talk about it, because looking at their testimonials, right? Some of the testimonials that they have are also incredible. So this, to Angie's point, this isn't a new kid on the block. These folks have been around and been doing it for almost 35 years. So they can tell you they've seen it, they've experienced it, and they have folks and customers who can back up what they're talking about with real results. So if you guys are in that space, reach out to us. The website is on the bottom scroller here, www.em-powered.com. Again, that's www.em/powered.com. Check out Empower Business Solutions, or feel free to reach out to us. We can make an introduction and a connection there as well. But As always, we love you guys. We appreciate you tuning in and diving on in with us for episode 14. Apologies for a little bit of the technology delay here. It's never the best, but we want to make sure that we continue to get out here and spread the word. And if there's anything that you guys want to talk about, a topic that you'd love for us to highlight or dive into, drop us a comment, drop us a note. But we'll be back for episode 15 before you know it. Thanks again for everything. And we can't wait to see you all soon. Happy Thursday, everybody. Have a great rest.